Since the beginning, we've been making gains. We have the year-to-date change going up and now 1.28%. For the trading results, and Goyle 5,078 shares, and say General Ghana 1,378 shares. So that's about it for talking.
And we are seeing the losses on the side of MTN, the clawing back what it lost on money, the 4%. And that has resulted.
MTN was the same equity that drove us down. And right now, since yesterday and today, they've been making some gains. You know, because of this volume, we always have the market going extremely down or extremely up when MTN records a price change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. My colleague Esther Aidu has been helping us with the analysis on the stock exchange. We move straight to our first subject of the day, because Ghana's inflation rate jumped to the highest level in nearly 5 years in December, undermining the central bank's efforts in tackling rising prices and helping to grow the economy. The consumer price index quickened to 12.6% from 12.2% in November, exceeding all estimates for the period. Now, the December rate was driven by higher cost of housing, water, electricity, and gas. Joining us for more on the latest inflation rate is Bismarck Osei, an economist with the Zenith University. Bismarck, thank you so much for your time this evening. Bismarck, can you hear me? We seem to be having a challenge with the lines, but we're trying to establish connection with Bismarck. We understand the impact of the rising inflation on price growth. The central bank has attempted to tame inflation, but what has been the impact of increasing the policy rate? We have on the line Bismarck Osei, an economist. Bismarck, thank you so much for your time. First of all, I want to understand your take on the fact that inflation has exceeded the Bank of Ghana's target for the 4th consecutive month. What do you think the central bank can do to tame inflation, even as we want to revive our economy from the ravages of the pandemic?
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening to everyone. As you already said, it's one of these very development, not a lot of development experience with the inflation going about the policy rate. But central bank being inflation targeting institution that is very mindful about inflation and have those central banks who will target inflation, who focus on increasing the policy rate, rather to help attenuate the level of inflation rate. And when we come in the next 3 months, we expect to see some minor adjustments to help attenuate the spiral of inflation rate.
Do we have a reason to be concerned with the fact that it appears the managers of the economy or the central bank is losing the grip in terms of taming inflation?
I would not say they have lost the grips. One of the things, I think this inflation rate you said, I have able to identify the reasons that today middle resources. And I think one of the reasons, for instance, is the fuel prices. You know that the last part of the year, fuel prices rise so high. I think it played a very participating role towards this price. They increase the fuel prices. I don't think this one is really the domain of the central bank when it comes to fuel prices. What the central bank can do to create special foreign concessions to MNC so that it gives a travel rates when they import to reduce this rate. And one of the things also identified was that the servicing of foreign debt also has some sort of tendency effect when it comes to currency and inflation rate. See that there's sort of balance between currency and inflation rate. I think for the period, we see 49% of our tax rate to finance it. It's also a problem. So these things are not really the domain of the central bank. These are really the domains of the government. I think it's not, you cannot only leave this on the doorstep of the government, also on the doorstep of the both government and the central bank. For instance, I also know that the excessive depreciation Christmas will become perennial to us. It's also one of the things that we block our efforts. The two government, central bank has a role to play, momentous role to play to deal with this inflation rate.
Very finally, in less than a minute, we've seen the central bank increasing the policy rate in an attempt to tame inflation. That seemed not to have made quite some impact. In January, are you expecting the rates to be increased further as the central bank may further tame the price growth?
We expect that as the principles say, when inflation rate goes up, the policy rate has to go up marginally to anticipate. So all these things are concomitant with the principles when it comes to the inflation. So we expect a marginal increase in the policy rate, maybe 500 basis points, 550 basis points, to deal with that.
Well, I think that's all time will permit us with Bismarck. You heard he's agreeing with the fact that the central bank may consider increasing the policy rates as a further measure to tame inflation, which has been on the rise in the last 4 consecutive months. Now, in some of the days, other stories, for nearly a decade, the Ghana poultry sector has contracted as a result of intense competition from imported poultry product and the decreasing profitability of egg production. Now, the development has also been attributed to high cost of production, which is making the industry seem unattractive. We go for a break. When we return, we have a consultant in the studio who will be helping us to appreciate some of these issues and what measures could be adopted to address the concern. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're looking at the local poultry industry, what we can do to revive once a vibrant industry. And we've been joined in the studio by Raymond Dente, who is an agribusiness consultant and who has been doing a lot. In fact, I've witnessed some of the work that's the agency he used to work for have been doing to promote the local poultry industry. Raymond, thank you so much for having you in the studio. First of all, from where you sit, what do you think has been the problem undermining the growth of the local poultry industry?
I must say a number of reasons. One, from the post-independence, we were very self-sufficient in the poultry sector. And we couldn't catch up in terms of technology. Production technology affected us. We were still lacking behind. And also, our input, especially our feed, in poultry production, feed costs about 60 to 70% of the cost of production. And the two main ingredients for the feed production is maize and soy. And Ghana, maize is a staple, and we don't produce efficiently, and we tend to compete with the animals. So maize prices consistently keep going up. And then the third reason would be the import of cheap poultry parts to Ghana. So this has been the challenge. The other issues like lack of access to finance for the farmers to continue to grow their businesses, and marketing challenges. Farmers are always at the end, suffer because market prices don't respond as much as the input when the input prices are going up. So these are some of the few reasons why our poultry sector has not grown or is declining.
Will it be right to say the industry has been dominated by smallholder outgrowers?
Yeah, you're right. The industry has been dominated by smallholder farmers. For the very big farms, they are not much. Most of the farms are those with farm sizes of about 5,000 bears to 50,000 bears. But that in itself is not a problem. It's efficiency. So if you're a small business and you are efficient, you become profitable. If you're a big business and you're not efficient, then you're not profitable. So it's though the industry is dominated by small players, that is not necessarily a problem.
How has the bird flu outbreak affected the industry?
I know some very big farms that have lost all their bears, because when your farm is infected by bird flu, one of the measures is to quarantine the farm and depopulate all the bears. And there's a process of payment compensation by government. I don't want us to go into that because of time. So it's affected a lot of big farms. They've lost all their investment, and then small farms. So all actors along the value chain have been affected by this.
I was wondering if it's not as a result of the fact that a lot of the farmers do not adhere to biodiversity measures. For example, I've been at one of your programs where you find experts and consultants trying to persuade farmers to adopt some of these practices, yet it seems not to be making result.
Yeah, bird flu, biosecurity helps, but it cannot eradicate bird flu. Bird flu, before it came here, it was in Europe, where they have top-notch biosecurity. So it helps, but biosecurity will only help bird flu, but other diseases, it will help reduce your cost of production, because animals are living things. Me and you, if you don't keep your environment sanitary enough, you end up spending a lot more on medical care. The same applies to the birds or any other animal for that matter. So biosecurity is very, very important but you have all the biosecurity, and bird flu could also happen. That's the issue. If you have biosecurity, top-notch biosecurity, and other farmers in the neighborhood don't have, but you can still get a bird flu. So that's one of the interventions we are promoting, to have a system where all the farms in Ghana system, then access to finance will improve. So regardless of bird flu, biosecurity is non-negotiable in the poultry business for that matter.
And why do you think a lot of farmers are not employing such a method, if it's going to help them access credit, if it's going to help increase their productivity?
I think one is lack of knowledge. So when I was running the Ghana Poultry Project, we really educated people on, and you don't, it can. People think it's expensive, but back in school, it's appropriate technology. So we could find low-cost means of instituting biosecurity. And again, as human beings, sometimes we need some incentive or motivation to put in place. So if the sector in itself agrees that this is what we want to do, and then they persuade and also force people, if people are also sanctioned to do it, because the sector is sort of linked. your lack of biosecurity could affect me, then people are forced to put some of this system in place. So yes, the loans and other things, the incentive, but there's also be some sanctions to force people to it. So this two-pronged approach will actually force people to put in place the best biosecurity system.
You've talked about shortage of maize, which undermines your ability to have enough feed. You've talked about high cost of production, among other problems. You've talked about biosecurity measures. In conversation around challenges,
we need a roadmap. We need all to put our efforts together to address the challenges. Currently, what I see is that there are bits and pieces of interventions here and there, and they are not concerted. So it's not. I mean, we need all hands on deck sort of. So we need to identify exactly what we need to do. It's interesting to know that if you put all these systems in place and we don't control even the amount of imports, we cannot. Let me tell you this. If South Africa was the first country to put in place a master plan for poultry, currently South Africa processes about 22 million bears. They have their cost of production is lower than the cost of production of poultry in the EU region. I have facts to show. But the poultry product from EU to South Africa was cheaper than poultry produced locally at a cheaper price in South Africa. So why is that? The reason is that, I mean, in EU and most Western countries, the particular part of the chicken, which we call the breast, is a choice meat and it's the cheapest. So once you sell that, you can make all your money as a processor. So the rest of the bears, they can sell at any price at all. So, and these countries are protecting their industry. If you look at the map of poultry processing, the countries with the least cost of production and processing is Brazil, followed by America, USA, and then thirdly South Africa before EU region. Now, EU will not allow chicken products from Brazil to enter their country because they are protecting their industry. So why should we allow poultry products to? And I just mentioned that in the countries like South Africa, where their cost of production and processing is lower, product from EU sells cheaply in South Africa.
How do we make the cost of production and processing lower?
We need to look at our input prices. I mean, we need to produce more maize. The challenge with the maize sector is that as we produce, other countries in West Africa are buying it off us. So it means we need to produce a lot more maize and produce more efficiently. And over time, that's why we need the business master plan. Over time, we need to decide, maybe the rain-fed alone is not enough. Maize can be produced in 120 days or less. So you can produce more than maybe three times in a